Welcome back to my channel. Today on Astounding Anecdotes, let's travel back to the wide, wild lands of the American West, a place where the plains rolled on forever and clouds drifted across big blue skies. But in June of 1876, these peaceful plains would become the site of one of history's most surprising and shocking battles. The Battle of Little Bighorn. Imagine the scene. For years, the Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, Arapaho, and other Native American tribes had lived and hunted freely here. The area around Little Bighorn River was a productive hunting ground, providing resources for the tribes. But the U.S. government wanted their land and had issued an ultimatum, ordering all Native Americans to report to reservations by a specific date or face military action. Many tribes refused to comply, seeing the reservation system as a way to further encroach on their traditional way of life and their lands. Several Native American tribes gathered at the Little Bighorn River in present-day Montana for a combination of cultural and resistance reasons. They were there to participate in the annual Sun Dance ceremony, a crucial religious event, and also to defy the U.S. government's orders to relocate to reservations. The Sun Dance was a significant spiritual and communal event for the Plains tribes. It was a time for prayer, personal sacrifice, and reaffirming tribal bonds. This gathering was a direct response to the influx of settlers and miners into their lands following the discovery of gold in the Black Hills, South Dakota. Tensions ran high. Chiefs like Sitting Bull, Gall, and Crazy Horse refused to give up without a fight. After all, why leave your ancestral land just because someone told you to? The government sent soldiers to force the tribes onto reservations, and so the army decided to force them in. Now enter General George Armstrong Custer, a bold, often reckless 7th Cavalry leader. In June, Custer spotted a huge native camp by the Little Bighorn River. He thought he'd caught them by surprise. He was hoping for a quick and glorious win. He was sure he could defeat the native warriors, even though his soldiers were outnumbered. But here's where the story turns. What he didn't know was just how many warriors waited for him, because the native warriors were ready. Sitting Bull had had a vision during the Sundance of soldiers falling into their camp like grasshoppers from the sky. He knew this battle was coming. And so did the natives. When Custer's men attacked, over 1,000 native warriors, led by the chiefs and driven by courage, charged out to defend their families and their way of life. Shouts, gunshots, thundering hooves, the air was full of chaos. The battle was fierce and fast. The warriors fought harder than anyone expected. Crazy Horse, fearless as ever, led a full-on counterattack. Custer's men were outnumbered, outflanked, and completely overwhelmed. Custer's group was quickly surrounded, and what followed was one of the biggest defeats in United States military history. June 25, 1876, Custer and all his men were overwhelmed. In less than an hour, every single soldier with Custer fell. Not a single one survived. When the rest of the United States Army arrived days later, they found the battlefield littered with bodies. It was honestly shocking. The country was stunned. How could one of their best generals fall like this? News of the defeat shocked America and echoed around the world. The newspapers called it Custer's last stand. But for the native tribes, it was a moment of pride, a rare victory in a long, painful fight for survival, a symbol of hope. But this victory didn't last. The United States government responded with vengeance. More troops, more pressure. Within a year, most of the tribes were forced into reservations anyway. Sitting Bull fled to Canada. Crazy Horse was later killed while in United States custody. But for one bright, thunderous moment in 1876, on the banks of the Little Bighorn River, the warriors of the plains had stood tall and won. The Battle of Little Bighorn showed the world that the defenders of their lands, Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, and all those warriors were powerful and proud and would not back down easily. So the next time you hear the wind blowing over the grassy plains, remember the bravery, the mistakes, and the courage of that day. This was more than a battle. It's a reminder that history is full of surprises, and sometimes the little guy fights back and wins. But reality is sometimes unfair. Where could this story have gone if things were different? That is a question for another astounding anecdote. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Astounding Anecdotes for more stories that make history come alive. Until next time, stay curious. Thanks for watching.